and all you have to do, we've been here for 4 days, every single place you go, you either drink the water or smell the water, it smells and tastes bad. Mm-hmm. So how can you say the water is safe or restored and then make public policy decisions? I mean, there's a thing called the smell test, the taste, and the eye test, and it doesn't seem restored. And like I said, whether it's Mark Edwards, who very, very small sample size, his testing was literally depending on records that were off of index cards, or the state of Michigan, who they chose the homes they were going to be testing. Where? The zip codes. And from what I've heard from many people in the know, they didn't exactly go around testing the worst affected areas. Can you kind of talk about that?
So the Virginia Tech testing was never meant to be a lead and copper rule. So I was actually part of the team that built that out. There was actually a lot of us. I know you hear about 1 or 2 people. There was a large group of us that sat in a church basement and built this plan out. What we did the Virginia Tech testing for was to prove that it was a widespread lead issue, because they kept trying to say it was just in one home or just in one little area that's old. It was just their pipes. So we plotted these tests out evenly amongst each ward and zip code. We made sure there was an even amount of number of tests in each one. We went knocking on doors and got this done. We had 277 tests. 277 tests in about a 2.5 week period, and we dropped them off, did the training, taught them how to do it. Some people we tested for them, and got it back that yes, it was a widespread issue. And what they had found out was that some of the highest lead levels that came back from that test were in 48503, that I live in, and 48504. Well then, when Dr. Mona got these test results, she compared it to the blood lead levels in children that are under the age of 6 and on Medicaid, because that's the records that they had, and which is not thorough and does not mean anything, except for the fact that the spikes, the highest spikes, were in 48503 and 48504. And if you look at the map that Jordan and I have peeled over, there's not a lot of tests in 48503 and 48504, especially not a lot of retests that have been done. So it's that whole avoiding the worst case scenario areas. And for some reason, they keep trying to say that the only place where lead pipes exist are on the inside of the city. And so that's when I started looking at the map to prove that's not where the highest lead tests are. And yeah.
So that would be like a fire department. There's 2 buildings on fire, and they go to the 7-Eleven around the corner with some sage burning.
Yes.
Because you're talking about 2 zip codes with the highest lead levels in children.
Yes. In conjunction with the highest water lead tests.
In conjunction with the highest water level testing, and they barely tested there.
Yes.
Also, the state testing is the Sentinel testing, which basically they chose the addresses. Did they choose the addresses based on the highest lead levels? How did they choose the addresses?
They chose the addresses. It was supposed to be on the index cards stating what service line material it was. And they didn't just they didn't just pick lead service lines, because Vicki Mark's home has a copper service line, and her house was a Sentinel home. And there's other people that don't have lead or galvanized pipes, and they're in the Sentinel testing, but it was hand-picked. And we'll just say we heard from some of the people, the Sentinel testing was a lot larger. Like how the Virginia Tech test started off 277 homes. Interestingly enough, some people were moved from the testing. Same thing happened with the Sentinel testing. It used to be a lot more, and then it shrunk down over time, and which I think, if they're just trying to establish some kind of ebb and flow, kind of doesn't work if you don't have the same number of samples with the same number of pipes. But homes like mine are one of 11 to 13,000 that the records don't exist. It actually just says NA for service line material. So how many of those were picked on? NA. 11 to 13,000, a third of the homes in the city.
NA.
And why that's so interesting is in the story I published, I literally have the guy in charge of that study. By the way, it wasn't his fault. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. But his study that showed, was supposed to map out where are the lead service lines so they know what homes to test. He was working off index cards from decades ago. Again, a lot of them were thrown out because nobody could read them. They were written in pencil. And B, 11 to 15,000 homes were missing because I think it stopped about 1984, the records. He's on the record in my story basically saying, and I'm paraphrasing, yeah, I do worry about whether this is I do wonder whether our mapping is representative because we're missing so much information. Once again, I'm not attacking him. His name's Marty Kaufman. He did the best he could with the available resources. But how in the world could Virginia Tech, their EPA-funded scientist, or the state of Michigan be testing homes based off of those records. The only way you could actually verify whether you're testing homes that are connected to lead service lines, once again, lead service lines would cause the most risk for lead leaching into the water, is if you send plumbers in. And, you know, the EPA-funded scientist in my story is quoted as saying, well, the EPA doesn't mandate. Well, I'm not mandated if I see somebody, like, you know, about to jump off a bridge to stop him or her from jumping off the bridge. But it kind of makes sense to do that if you're a sane, empathetic person. But I'm hearing that, you know, well, we're not mandated to verify what the service lines are. He's on the record in my story basically saying, I don't have the exact quote, but I'm paraphrasing, we don't know for sure. That's a problem with the lead and copper rule. We deal with imperfect records. Well, tell people who have been poisoned, you're basically just guessing if their homes have lead service lines. And how bad is this guessing game? As of May of last year, I don't know what the number is now, but as of May of last year, 22% of the time when they dug up the street thinking they were going to find a lead service line, these are the crews that are replacing the lead service line citywide, they found copper. So, and last week it came out that there's now 14,000 lead pipes under the ground, the damaged lead service lines, and that's 15% more than they thought.
Yes.
And I'm sure in 3 months they're going to find, you know, a whole treasure trove more. Jill, what do you think, just as a resident? You know, I hear the narrative when I listen to the local media is like the residents don't trust the state, and why should they? But the local media here isn't even looking into everything we're talking about. They're just talking about the mentality. It's hard for the residents to trust the government. Well, yeah, when you are actively tasting your water or smelling your water or showering in your water and you're having problems.
You want to ask the residents, do you trust? Well, it's very hard to trust when the water... I trusted you when I had my water tested. You told me, your water's fine, your water's healthy. There's no problem. As my daughter said, if that would not have grown in my home, how much would I have been congesting? Because this is in our pipes. I'm not only in this for what happened in my home. These are residents. This is a city. You know what? We don't have the same blood, but we all have become related. We're a very big family. This sickens me that you can say, oh, we're going to save $1. You're going to save $1, but it didn't. You saved $1. It didn't come off our water bills. It went into your pocket.
Well, that's also a lie because...
Okay.
When I come back...
So, and it's, you know...
They weren't doing this to save money.
So, how do you expect us to trust you when it's continued disbelief?
Well, also, it's not just a psychology, how can I trust you? How can you trust them? I mean, taste your water now.
Right. Thank you. It's
taste your water now.
Common sense.
Right.
It's common sense. We turn our water on. It burns your eyes. You have family in from out of town.
Tell them about Easter.
At Easter.
This year Easter.
This year, we had a family dinner here. And if I would not have recycled it, you would not have believed the bottled water that was used to cook a meal. So, one of the family members needed to use the restroom, turned the water on to wash their hands. Said, oh my God, what is that smell in there? I flushed the toilet, my eyes are burning. My daughter, who knows we don't use the water, you turned it on. And immediately she was like, Mother, this is sick. I cannot believe that this smell is coming from a faucet.
Wait. Did your family from out of town smell it?
Yes, they could smell it. Yes, they could smell it. And you know, my sister, she lives out of town. She does live in Michigan, and you know, she said, this is disheartening. You know what this whole entire city is going through. And when she was here at Easter, because I'm going to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of events at my home because of this. And she said, when I went in and I turned that faucet on, She said, not only did my eyes tear because of this horrific smell, she said it made me sick with the residents and what they're doing to my family. She said, I grew up in Flint, and how dare you just continue to let this go on?
I just want to say, if this was a Royal Oak, a Ferndale,
Yes.
a nicer area, I do not for a minute believe that this would have happened or went on. If it would have came out that their pipes would have been bad, boom, it would have been. But they don't believe in us.
If this was Trump Plaza, that block, the National Guard would have been in overnight, and it would have been fixed, I'd say, in 2 weeks.
Because Snyder,
well,
up there, they're getting new infrastructure.
So at the Capitol, actually, the Capitol building, I showed Brittany when we went last week, that it's undergoing this whole reconstruction. They're getting all brand new plumbing in the Capitol building in Lansing. Also, I would like to add that
it's like increasing congressional security after the baseball shooting, but everybody else is sitting duck.
Yeah, right. And also, I want to also point out in DC, the Cannon building tested high for lead. All their water is shut off. They're getting all new pipes, and they have an endless supply of bottled water. But just pointing that out. And to go with what you're saying, Grand Rapids is replacing all of their lead service lines. And right after we had settled...
without a problem.
After we had settled, we were going through the lawsuit to get our pipes removed. Before it got settled, Ann Arbor, where Governor Snyder lives, they had 100 lead goosenecks, not even full pipes, just the goosenecks, the attachments, still in the ground. They found them in their records, because they have accurate records. We don't. But they found them like, oh my God, replaced all of them. Did they have a lead problem? No. Did they? No. But they got those suckers out before we got our lead pipes out. And we had to sue to get it done.
And can I just ask, I mean, I'll go down the line, but the governor told the mayor recently,
Get over
it. I'm tired of talking about this. Any thoughts on that?
John.
I have a comment.
Hold on.
I will get over it when you accept an invitation. I have a beautiful home. Please spend your summer vacation here. Shower in the water. I'll cook for you. I'll make coffee for you. Please bring the whole entire family. We'll have a wonderful vacation. And then you know what? I'll get over it. Please come consume this. Shower in it. Let's see what it does for you. Thank you.
Jill, that's assault.
When I read, and this was something I posted on Facebook, and it got around a little bit. When I read his quote of "get over it," I called up and I asked for a Snyder rep, and I got a lecture on fake news. Just so you know, like that. If you are a concerned Flint resident calling to say, what do you mean get over it? You get lectured that was taken out of context. And that this Trump era fake news type of, come on.
So basically they're saying the mayor lied about what he said?
Yeah. Yeah. Even though I just watched the video.
I was there.
Yeah.
And you were talking, and he would have a big long pause, and you'd go, "Are you still there?" He goes, "I didn't know if you were talking to me." I'm asking you about get over it.
Yeah.
Who am I talking to? The dog?
Hello. Yeah, they're fun.
So going back to trust and all that, trust is earned, and that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
By the way, share the video. I should have said this 15
Lord.
times, but
Right.
make sure you're sharing and all that stuff.
Trust is earned, and how you don't earn trust is one, cooking the numbers, lying to people, telling them that their experiences don't exist. Like those rashes are all in your head. Marla Garland is a lady who's gotten upset. She actually went to the release of a documentary and asked about bacteria. She actually asked Dr. Edwards on stage, and they cut the lights and the mic off on her. The whole building, but that's fine. And she went to see, because she's got rashes, she has to bathe out of town. But they told her it's all in her head, that she's making it all up. The rashes that appear on your skin, you take photos of. Apparently our minds are that fantastic. Maybe the lead made them special. But how you do not is exactly what the state tried to pull, and Hurley doctors tried to pull this week, saying, oh, you're not poisoned, you're just exposed. Like we had walked past lead and they said, oh, I saw that, I'm exposed to lead. No, it's a poison, you put it in my body, we're poisoned, thank you, but trying to downplay it. The constant downplaying of our poisoning and the constant lying, and the same people who poisoned us are in charge of our recovery, which is why we don't have one. They're the ones saying that it's all okay.